All righty, back again, guys. Sorry about that. So, um, had to jump over. I couldn't share articles, and that was starting to agitate me. So, lesson learned. So let's give everyone a chance to make their way over here. Hey, welcome back. Sorry, I broke it. Yeah, well, Joe, I couldn't share articles. So, and I guess that's why you get the software package, because then you can do other shit. It wouldn't let me share article. I want to start the hey Scott, welcome back, welcome back. See, because now I can do stuff like this. Hey Joe, broke it. Hello, we back. Scott Hummer. Hey Annie, thanks. Thanks. Sorry about that. A little bit of confusion there. I want to see this pendejo
My daughter
get beat up on
5 times first, and at point blank she got shot at
beat up on this stupid oath. So there's a link to the article. Tactical, that is not a bad idea. I'm actually looking for property. It was General Mills. Okay, Wolf Girl, we're going to look that up. General Mills. Let's see, General Mills. No survivors from fiery plane crash. Ooh, that looks pretty awful, actually. Oh, that's not what you clicked, Pete. Let's hit the right thing. Here we go. Cool. Let's share this because we can. Hang on just a second. Let me share this to all of you folks. Hey, Farmer's Son. Welcome, welcome. Stuart. Yeah, I'm fighting with it, Loretta.
In 2020, Los Angeles County voters elected George Gascon to be the county's top prosecutor. People who break the law are celebrating. Carlson Originals, Suicide of Los Angeles.
Oh, wow, that looks interesting. Oh, man, hold on. That's not the guy I wanted. I wanted to see Mike Tyson get punched in the head, punch the guy in the head. Here we go. All right, let's try that again. Let me know if you can hear this. And granted, Tyson's not the nicest guy, but that kid was being a shit. I know you're up in my face and pour water on me, I'm going to punch you. I don't care if we're on a plane. So Tyson is a jerk. Well, he bit Evander Holyfield, which was just creepy. Hey, Carbon Q, welcome, welcome. Stuart's in here somewhere. Wait, I lost Stuart. Hey, Texas Mama. Hey, Stuart. There's a link to the article. So let's go look at the General Mills plant and see what we can find out. Oh, wow, that's pretty. Well, you're not joking, Wolf Girl. That's pretty awful looking. Let's see. I'm going to try and play this for us. Hang on a second here. Of course, it has a commercial, right? So that's not fun. Let me get the commercial out of the way. And oh, it's this stupid thing about Biden. Never mind. It lies. Guys, this is so General Mills. Let me see if I can share a different screen. Here we go. God, they put so many advertisements in the websites, you can't even function anymore. Let's look at that. So, can you guys see that? Well, dude, welcome, welcome. Yeah, Stuart, I'm having all sorts of technical issues today. Don't mind me. Okay, so no survivors in small plane crash at Georgia General Mills plant. It's unclear how many people were aboard the Cessna 340 when it crashed at 6:45 p.m. Small plane crash killed everyone on board and set the facility on fire. veered sharply in a northeast direction and went down, crashing into 3 empty tractor trailers. So I guess it didn't hurt the facility itself, but it did hurt the hey, Nate, what's going on? How's it going? Did someone have an issue with their Lucky Charms being recalled? I did not know about this. So much interesting stuff going on. Let's find about Lucky Charms recall. Hold on a second here. Let's bring that up. God bless. Lucky Charms making people sick. Let's see. So are Lucky Charms actually making people sick? General Mills finding no link. Of course they're not going to find the link. It's their cereal. Federal agency continues to investigate. Earlier this winter, a handful of complaints started showing up on a consumer crowdsourcing website claiming Lucky Charms was causing gastrointestinal issues, including vomiting and diarrhea. Over 100 reports have been made. And then, of course, they're saying General Mills denies the accusations. This is from the Star Tribune, so I'll pop that in the chat for those of you who want to make fun of this. Yeah, that's... Hey, Lucky, what's going on? Thanks for joining anyway, though. I appreciate it. So, yeah, that's... There's been a lot of food-related issues lately, and that's concerning. I mean, you guys got to think about that. We've had multiple facilities in the U.S. go down at one time, and that's concerning. If I was China or Russia and I was about to do something I knew the U.S. would intervene in, as someone had mentioned on the earlier chat before I jumped platforms, I would disrupt food, I would disrupt power, I would disrupt comms. Because now what you have to do is you're going to have to redirect assets to the domestic front before you can deal with an international issue. Winds gusting 70 miles an oh yeah, we're getting winds out here too, Annie. And so let's back up here a bit. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Drone, yeah, they said nobody survived, but if there were no people in there, then obviously nobody survived. Yeah, absolutely, Farmer's Son. There's a lot of fires or other weird issues going on with all of this. Yeah. And there's a lot of content creators in the chat. So those of you who are new, look for them. If any of the mods are on, if you can throw some links up, share the fun, that would be great. They're trying to make us sick a week before they do. Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. We're seeing a lot of, and what's funny is our community, the preppers, have been talking about this since what? September, October? Big channels, small channels, we've all been saying there's going to be a disruption of some type. When the president comes on the public a month ago, not even a month ago, 2 weeks ago, and says, we're going to have food shortages, there'll be famine, and he uses words like that. And then shortly thereafter, we start seeing facilities burn down. Originally, it was one here, one there. Now you're seeing them in consecutive weeks. Again, I'm going to hold to this point. I don't know if I'm right, but well, yeah, I mean, there's so many overlapping things going on right now. The truth is, look, if I was going to do something, if I was country X and I was going to do something that I did not want the UK, the US, the Canadians, the French to interfere with, that's exactly what I do. Quite honestly, I don't think these sanctions are even doing anything to Russia. And I don't think we're done with China either. And let me bring up this article, because I think we're seeing what will ultimately result in some. Oh, these advertisements make me nuts, guys. Hold on a second here. So let me see if I can grab that article real quick. Here it is. No, it won't let me open it. So yeah, it doesn't want to play nicely. Sorry, guys. Right now, yeah. Oh, now Janet Yellen is saying starvation. That's awesome. Jeez. No, and Wolf Girl, it's true, because I don't know how many of you, just I guess by a show of hands, virtual hands, have had someone tell you, say in the last 5 years, you're paranoid, you're a conspiracy theorist, and now those are the very same people freaking out about toilet paper and pasta. Like I'm first guy right there, because it's happening constantly to me. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And what concerns me a lot is, so you've got Russia and China. We've basically got the Wolf Girl with 3 hands up. And it's frustrating because we're also the first people they're going to call. You know that. Something's going to be bad. They're like, no, you're stupid. The government, we'll just go to the store. It's like the last 24, 36 months didn't happen. We're just going to go to the store. Really? Not anymore, right? Nope. No, well, fortunately, so Sassy started following on TikTok some preppers that I interact with on the other platform. And now she's sending me stuff from people that we've done like co-videos on that platform. And she said, holy shit. She said, I'm listening to you and I'm listening to all of them, and y'all are connecting all these dots. And it's like, it's scary. Yeah, and let Loretta know if you have a channel. Thank you, Loretta. So let's see what China. I saw a really good article. I'm trying to find it so that I can share it with you. I may have to do it. Well, we may have to do it on a video instead, kids. So bear with me just a second while I pull that one up, and we will go from there. Here we go. All right, so let me stop it and let me get you guys on board here. Because, oh, not that button. There we go. All right, so I'm going to play this one for you. Let me know if you got audio.
The Communist Party there seems to be trying to rally sympathy for Russia According to the New York Times, it's part of an ideological campaign China is building that paints Russia as a victim, not an aggressor. It also sends the message that Beijing will not turn its back on Moscow. For more on this, let's bring in former U.S. Ambassador to China, Gary Locke.
He's also the interim president of Bellevue College in Washington State. Ambassador, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. We want to start with the message China is sending to its citizens about Russia. It seems to contradict what it's telling the outside world about its stance on the war in Ukraine. What is the reasoning behind this, and how does this kind of campaign benefit the Chinese government?
Well, first of all, China has long been an ally with Russia. We actually formed diplomatic relations with China back in the almost 50 years ago to try to create a little bit of a wedge between China and Russia. And since then, relations between the West and China have been fairly strong. But in the last several years, China has noticed a harsher tone by the United States, whether it's trade sanctions or, tariffs on Chinese goods coming into the United States, our concerns about human rights. And so China is really trying to forge its own path, trying to reassert itself and form other alliances around the world. And it's really, along with Russia, trying to lessen the dominance and the influence of the West and America across the world. So they've now kind of realigned themselves and are forming tighter partnerships.
So we understand that this is sort of a, complicated triangle. You've got Russia, China, and the U.S. involved. But Ambassador Locke, how does the West's narrative on the war specifically come into play with the fact that despite pressure from other world powers, China has yet to condemn Russian President Putin for the war in Ukraine?
Well, because of its alliance with Russia, and they oftentimes vote as a bloc in the UN, especially in the National Security Council, they are trying to say that the tensions in Ukraine are really, and the massacre really in Ukraine is really the fault of America and NATO moving too close to the borders of Russia and causing the fear and the instability that has led to Russia's response. Now, what's interesting is that the people of China are seeing the images of the incredible massacre, the death, the destruction. But at the same time, China is trying to say, well, yes, this is deplorable, but this is really the fault of the West. They really brought it on with the NATO movements, troops closer to the border, and just what they perceive as saber rattling by America and the West.
So, Ambassador, do you think the accusations of Russian war crimes then will affect China's support for Russia? As you mentioned, we have just been witnessing these horrific crimes throughout the week. All these civilians, scores of civilians killed, some with their hands tied behind their backs.
Well, the Chinese government, through their communist-controlled government newspapers, are saying, well, these are fake pictures put together by the Ukrainian government. And so they are basically following and teeing the line put out by Russia that this is not happening. And now China, of course, is saying this is deplorable. And we urge restraint and we want peace. But they're really not doing very much to help encourage settlement and talks between Russia and the Ukrainian government. So they're mouthing the words, but really doing very little.
Ambassador Locke, really quickly before we let you go, what do you think it will take to change China's stance? Or you think they're digging in their heels, taking this neutral position of sort of supporting Russia by remaining silent?
Well, the good thing is that China is not providing military assistance and economic aid to Russia. And certainly they are aware of the power of the sanctions that the West has imposed on Russia, and that the West could do the same to China. The problem is that Europe itself is not really willing to double down against Russia. I mean, 25% of the oil that Europe depends on comes from Russia. 40% of the natural gas that Europe depends on comes from Russia. They're still not willing to cut themselves off from that. So when Russia sells its oil and natural gas to Europe, they're using the money to pay for its military operations, to pay for the replacement of the tanks and the missiles and the artillery and the fighter planes. So until Europe really gets serious about cutting off its dependence on Russia.
Yeah.
How can we really expect China to do much more?
A complicated geopolitical quagmire. Ambassador Gary Locke, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
So, don't tell them, haha, funny Arkansas. No audio. Yeah, the spam callers are in effect today. That's where I got thrown off. They share a 2,000-mile border with each other. I promise you, those countries are sharing shit that we don't know about. It would be unrealistic to think otherwise. Possibly. And good to go. Thank you, Tactical. Right, and that blows my mind. The stupidity of our leaders. I don't even know what to say here. This last week, I got to sit in on a luncheon with Congressman August Pfluger. He's a 20-year Air Force veteran who's now one of the West Texas representatives. The last time he was in the area, he brought Lauren Boebert with her, who's the one who booed Biden at that last State of the Union, which made me very happy. By the way, she's not a big gal. Like, they show her real big on TV. She's real petite. Like, if she's 5'4", I'd be shocked. But apparently got a booming voice because she yelled straight across the congressional hall at the president, which made people's heads explode in Seattle. But China and Russia use the same ammunition. They've shared weapon designs down to the infantryman's rifle. They have a 2,000-mile border between them. Just because China and Russia say, well, we're only selling oil to China. Bull. I promise you there's gear going back and forth. Remember, the Olympics happened just before the Ukraine invasion. And who was there visiting the Chinese president? Think about it. Putin spent almost a week with President Xi. These guys talked extensively about next steps. Putin wanted part of Ukraine, or if not all of Ukraine, and China wants Taiwan. Now, there's already talk that Russia's going to go into Moldova, and China's trying to sign an agreement with the Solomon Islands, which we actually, let me see, which we had to take from the Imperial Japanese. Oh, I stand corrected. They did sign an agreement. Hang on a second here. Let me, ooh, that's scary. I did not know that. So I'm trying to find stuff to talk about, and I'm freaking myself out more. Let's see what we got here. Hold on a second. I got rid of this. I got to bring this knucklehead back. Okay. So actually, I've got a beautiful Albanian SKS. It's still got the original Woodstock matching serial numbers. Absolutely nice rifle to shoot. And yeah, I heard about it. I didn't know they were going to pull the trigger on it, but apparently they did. So let me bring that video up. And this is what's bugging me, is it's all happening simultaneously.
Off alarm bells in Washington and in Australia. Beijing just signed a security pact with the Solomon Islands. That could pave the way
for China to put troops and warships there, or even build a military base. The island chain is a crucial strategic location. The Solomon Islands right in the middle of major shipping lanes that connect America to Asia. A Chinese military presence there could alter the balance of power in the region. This security agreement comes just days before a top American diplomat was set to visit the Solomon Islands to try to stop this very thing from happening. Michael, is China trying to get away with military expansion while the world's focused on Ukraine?
I think China will keep this kind of stuff up, Ukraine or not. China, in a way, is playing our game. I'm not saying that they're doing it for good purposes. But as you know, Shep, we have 60 allies around the world. We have military facilities or bases in dozens of countries. A lot of it goes back, speaking of the Solomon Islands, to World War II and the legacy of that conflict. And we see this as one of our strengths and also legitimate. If countries want an American presence, feel it's good for them and their security, then we are unapologetic about creating these kinds of relationships. So China's trying to take a play or a page out of the American handbook. I'm not suggesting it's good. I think we should compete, remind countries like the Solomon Islands why this doesn't really help their interests. The Australians tried to make that case. We've tried to make that case. But you're going to win some and lose some at this juncture. The good news is we're the ones with dozens of allies and bases abroad. The Chinese have very few. So in the net balance, we're way ahead.
Okay, so there's a lot of
for reaction
things.
is Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State and Fox
There's a
News
lot of
contributor.
stream
So why does the left act as if, like,
overlapping
conservatives
things. Hold on, I got
are
this
a bit-
gal talking over here. Here we go. We've got a lot of overlapping things going on, and now we have food. We've had power issues, food issues, hacks. There's a lot going on, and you know, we. Can you hear me, or is it still muted? No, Australia is not liking that much. That puts China within fighter bomber range of Australia, which I know they're not happy with. They can't be. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm just worried. We're watching a lot of things go on concurrently at the hands of two major players, right? China and Russia. And things could happen. Now, you also have the NWO, which I'm probably going to get this video banned for throwing that out there, who are more European-based and not fans of Putin or China. So where's it going? It almost reminds me of the book 1984, where it's basically the world was broken into four large factions that fought with each other, and they were always in a perpetual state of conflict. So yeah, there are a lot of things, and it's kind of hard connecting the dots to all of them, but they're all happening at the same time. And again, these fires. What is with fires in election year? In 2020, California was burning down. Do you remember that? I mean, top to bottom. There are probably fires there right now that they're not being publicized because it's like, oh no, that doesn't interest us because it's not to our benefit. But let's see what California fires look like. So this has been an exceptionally dry year. And, oh, that's just weird. Look at this. And also, Glenn, they are powerful elements. So this is California right now. They got one fire up here. They actually have fires in... Oh, so we got a bunch of fires in freaking Texas. But little wildfires, but nothing. I don't know if you guys can see all this. Nothing in like one fire in Cali. Tell me that's not suspicious. Come on, they about damn near burned California down in 2020. And regardless of who you voted for, there's no way, no freaking way, as much rain as they had. This is a dry year. We've been under fire watch in Texas for months. And yeah, I had a very bad dry winter. Yes. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh no, I stand corrected. No, I did see some of that. Take care, Farmer Son. Thanks for jumping in. Yeah, I can't speak to the wind, but the wind has been bizarre. It's been a lot of wind. It just concerns the hell out of me that we've got so many issues, and they're all overlapping each other. This is another one from NBC, and not one of my favorite newscasts, but they actually were on point kind of with this one. Let's see. Let me get this advertisement out of the way, and I'll bring this up. And again, guys, this goes to the fundamentals of preparedness, right?
2022.
It's food. It's a lot of fires in the area of Texas, and we normally. Okay, and I'm in West Texas, so I'm not far from the fire you mentioned earlier. And yeah, you guys did, because I actually drove through Austin, Temple, Killeen, Waco, and then I broke to. I was going to go to Huntsville, wound up going to Dallas, and then went west from there, and then came down to San Angelo again, and I was making like little circles. So yeah, hey, Sassy Gal, welcome, welcome. You know, Annie, the other day we legit had a haboob in West Texas, like you'd see in the movies. And you know, I read like the Grapes of Wrath, and they're talking about the sandstorm, dust storms, and I'm like, no way, how does that happen? And I saw one the other day, and literally the sky out here since that has been this weird brownish blue. I've never seen that color before. Okay, so dust devils are baby tornadoes that go across fields, and I watch college kids put on football helmets and pads and run into dust devils and just get knocked on their asses. And they had to have been drunk, because there's no way. Had I been sober and done that, I'd have been in pain. So these kids were probably drunk. But there's a lot going on. The haboobs are, and honestly, it almost look like the pictures you'd see from the guys and girls who got deployed to Iraq when they had a legit haboob over there. It looked like that. Like it just blew my mind, guys. Well, think about it, Nate. A lot of people look at the Great Depression, right, which was between World War I and World War II. What people don't think about is before World War I, there was actually a recession. There were all sorts of problems going on. Remember Marie Antoinette's famous "let them eat cake," which was basically bread, "let them eat cake" phrase, and subsequently she got her head cut off along with all of the other royalty. That happened pre-World War I. And Marie Antoinette, actually, I'm mistaken, she was further back in history, but there were still issues with the royals, and there were food, there was famine, there were dust bowls, the whole 9 yards before World War I. Part of that created all the tensions that precipitated the First World War. Haboob is a sandstorm, but that's the Persian name for them. Yeah. Hey, good day, Navi. Welcome, welcome. And that concerns the crap out of me, guys, because oh, I did not know that. That's a neat. So basically, let them eat garbage, and she got her head cut off. So Sadly, they killed her Papillon. Hey, Mrs. Ghetto, which I'm not a fan because I actually own a Papillon. Jackson, he just walked past me. But they shaved him because it's getting hot. Come here, Debbie. Oh. This is him. He normally has long hair, but it's freaking hot. And now he looks like a Q-tip. All right, away with you. Go fight. He actually smells nice now. Go on, go play. Do dog things. Shit, now I've attracted everyone. No, I don't need a corgi either. Go away. Shoot. Yeah, that is exactly why she got disconnected from the rest of herself. Hey, in between, what's going on, lady? So, actually, he's a radar head. Anything that happens within 20 yards of the house, I'm going to know about because he's going to get angry about it. They keep saying that we only have single-digit inflation. Bull. I went to the store. I actually took videos. I hadn't posted yet. And the price of chicken. So I look at like 7 things, right? Like can of black beans, can of corn, chicken breast, ground beef, milk, eggs, and like toilet paper. It's like some staples that we all use, right? And I've been comparing them, and I looked at some old footage, and it was like 99 cents, $1.50 during the Rona. It's $3 for chicken breast right now. Ground beef is the crappy ground beef is like $4.99, $5. And yep, absolutely. So I found this video earlier, and I thought I'd share this with you guys too. Let me see if I can get this puppy working. This is from CNBC, and it is from not too long ago. So I'm going to play this now for you guys. Let me know if you lose the audio, please.
Global food prices also followed suit, posting a 20.7% increase compared to last year.
Highest prices we've seen since probably for the last 10 years. Stock levels, lowest levels since, in some cases, 2007-8.
It's particularly severe because we are just coming out of a recovery from a 2.5 year pandemic that had severe implications on the price of goods and services as well as the price of commodities.
Coming right out of that kind of historic disturbance of the world, boom, we're hit with a really huge geopolitical event.
The war in Ukraine is putting a massive strain on the global food supply. The chief of UN World Food Program warned that a potential global food crisis might be on the horizon on a scale not seen since World War II.
Some estimates place the total caloric value of the food exports from the Ukraine and Russia at around 12% of the globe's total calories.
If the Ukrainians can't plant right now and can't get their wheat in the ground, it does mean that the 2022 planting season will not yield much if they get some in, or the size harvest that the world is anticipating.
This is going to be another major test to the food supply system. And we will have to watch very carefully what's happening in other parts of the world and consider ways to reduce risks of food shortages and conflict. This is going to be very challenging.
So how exactly does the conflict in Ukraine pose a threat to the global food supply? And can anything be done to stop it? Russia and Ukraine are agricultural giants that provide a pivotal role in the global food supply. In 2021, Russia exported $37.3 billion worth of agricultural products to the rest of the world, while Ukraine exported more than $27 billion.
They've regained their role as one of the primary breadbaskets of the world. They're not only large in wheat, but also in things like corn, where they account for some 20-25% of corn exported in the world. Sunflower oil, where the two countries account for almost 75%. So a lot of nations depend on exports from those two countries.
But the Russian invasion has had a drastic impact on Ukraine's agricultural exports. The country banned exports of several grains, sugar, salt, and meat in early March. The blockade of the country's port has also halted the shipment of existing grains. As a result, Ukrainian grain exports in March were 4 times less compared to the levels in February.
To ship 9% of the world's grains when you don't have a seaport is quite difficult. Now, there's some talk about shipping on trains or on land, but it's not a substitute for the massive kinds of shipping that was existing before.
There's also the question of whether Ukraine could maintain its agricultural productivity given its current predicament.
It's a really topsy-turvy, uncertain situation. You know, maybe in the far western part of Ukraine, the security system's pretty good, but are they going to have the availability of diesel fuel to get the tillage and the planting done? And we also know a lot of farmers have probably joined the Ukrainian military, so there could be labor shortages.
While Russia has yet to impose a wide export ban on agricultural goods, its involvement in Ukraine has put a massive strain on the cost of fertilizers. Prices for raw materials like ammonia, nitrogen, nitrate, phosphate, potash, and sulfate saw a 30% increase compared to the start of 2022.
Russia and Belarus are big exporters of fertilizers in the world, and fertilizer prices have been very high. Natural gas prices have been very high, and natural gas is a feedstock for nitrogen-based fertilizers.
In early March, the Russian ministry recommended the country's fertilizer producers temporarily halt any exports.
If the price of fertilizer goes up, that might be a relatively small price in terms of input costs that might get transferred to consumers. But if less fertilizer is produced and less fertilizer is applied to crops, we might have lower yields. And so that could affect total global supply of important food commodities.
The global food supply was already in a fragile state before the crisis in Ukraine, due to global warming as well as supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic.
You got to realize that even prior to the invasion, global food stocks were tight. That is, we had run down levels over the last couple of years. Part of that due to the pandemic, but some of it due to the fact that we had weather issues. We had a drought in the North America that affected the wheat crop last year in Canada and parts of the U.S. We're just coming out of a drought in South America, which has adversely affected the Brazil soybean crop. And Brazil's, the largest soybean exporter in the world.
Coming right out of that kind of historic disturbance of the world.
Come on, Caleb, you got time.
All right, they got a stupid commercial right smack in the middle of the video.
Feel comfortable about tomorrow.
So let that pass. And but guys, this is yeah, and I've been highlighting folks' comments. I feel like. Yeah, and what's funny, Rip, I couldn't find, the Sam's Club, they have the big case of water for like $3. And granted, it got hot here, so the work crews probably bought them up. But I haven't seen them in a hot minute. 5-gallon water bottles. I've got a rack where I rotate 7 of them. And I have a water dispenser like you have in the office. And hey, Rip. Yeah, I had to jump from. I tried to do the live on YouTube, and I can't share screens. I can't highlight people's comments, so I jumped to StreamYard. So that's why I jumped over. No worries, Annie. So last week, my personal goal, and you guys share what you're doing this weekend. Last week was a bunch of Mylar stuff. Rice, I had some extra rice that I wasn't utilizing. Rice, pastas, the dried basic stuff. I also picked up some extra batteries. And weekend before that, I made the trip down to Central Texas, and I educated young people in how to use the Colonel Stoner's platform, many of us know as the Alfa Romeo, and I'll leave it at that, acquainting them with the carbine-style rifles. So I'm not just prepping myself and trying to educate the younger folks around me as to how to get ready. Actually, it's funny because my coworker who recently left West Texas and is now ironically on the coast, so he and I switched spots. He's now stocking canned goods, he's like, well, what should I do when the Rona started? I'm like, get canned goods, get water, because stuff's going to run out. People are going to freak. Just get enough for like 2 weeks and then build from there. So now he's already planting fruit trees in his property. He had some here and he's doing it down there. And I'm like, good for you, man. Guys, yeah, the elderly, I feel bad for the folks, and it'll be all of us at some point on fixed income, especially retirees where you're not young enough to just go out and grab a job. I think it's stockpiling all kinds of pasta, working on canned meats. So I have to circle back to the canned meats, and I'm in the market for a small generator. And the goal of the generator is the freezer, the refrigerator, and basic lights. Actually, Sassy, I'll be right back. Let me show you what she found, because I thought this was neat. I tried to do a video on this, but the wind kept blowing shit over. So she found this thing, and so it's this baby power bank, but you open it, and I've actually already charged it up. It's solar bank, and she said, well, you know, if power goes out, because I got that ERCOT warning from the Texas Grid Company or the Texas Grid Commission saying, hey, we may have power going out. So I have a Jackery, but this is small enough I could take it traveling with me. So I got now portable power banks for when I'm on the road, and I've got the Jackery at the house. So we've got a lot of smaller power options for radios, batteries, cell phones, stuff like that. What I need to transition to now is an actual generator. Hey, Magic, what's going on? Yes, thank you, Awkward Texan. I've mentioned it before, but folks, make sure that if you live in the state of Texas, or if you're close, if you're in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Arizona, and you're able to like kind of finagle your way into Texas this weekend, it is tax-free weekend on preparedness stuff, and it's statewide, not just the hurricane area. Generators under $2,000. Let me look that up, because that's important stuff to know. Texas tax-free emergency preparedness. Let me see if there's a list of goodies. The controller of the state of Texas. Here we go. Oh, here it is. Found it. All right, let me show that. So I have the baby one. I have the little Jackery. I probably need a bigger one, but in my mind, thank you, Awkward. $3,000. So let me share this fun, and we're just going to read through it real quick. So Texas preparation supply sales. This is from the controller.texas.gov. So this is from the state. There is Espanol if you have a friend who's Spanish speaking who may not understand. Folks, to me, feeding families, taking care of your neighbors, that transcends politics, color, language, religion. It's people. It's your families, your kids, the ones you love. If you can get your neighbors on board to kind of start thinking of this shit, and you get 4 or 5 or a block of people in a cul-de-sac going, we're all going to prepare, man, you just created a powerhouse of usefulness there. April 23rd to 25th. So as of tomorrow, they extended it. No, they didn't. Shit. I thought they added a day. They did not. Oh, no, yeah, they did. It used to be Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday only. Now it's Monday, too. 48 can beat the knowledge into them all. And you know what? When they're willing to learn, one, it makes it worthwhile. And two, they ask me questions. I don't know, Glenn, if you've had this happen. Bye, Loretta. Thank you so much. You be safe and take care of yourself. I don't know if you've had this happen, Glenn, where you're teaching someone how to shoot and they start asking really basic questions because they're obviously new, and you never thought about it. You're like, wow, I never thought of that. So yeah, this is from April 23rd to the 25th. These emergency prep supplies qualify for tax exemption if the purchase price is less than 3,000 portable generators, less than 300 emergency ladders and hurricane shelters. I don't know what they mean by an emergency ladder, but this weekend is the thing. The thing that sounds like the potato. Less than 75 bucks. Look at the list of things you can get tax-free this weekend. See, and I shoot all the time, but sometimes I'll get a really basic question that I just instinctively knew. And I said, I never thought of bringing that particular point up to someone when I'm teaching them. Because like if you and I were on the range, we both know it already. It's just assumed, yeah, Glenn knows X and I know X, and therefore let's go shoot. But yeah, when you get people who, yeah. And you know what? If you can train them, I've even told someone who's new to the country, he just bought his first handgun because he finally got all his papers to where he could legally buy, and he loaded the mag backwards. And he said, I was so embarrassed. I said, buddy, and I know the range he went to. I said, dude, you should have gone immediately. He said, I went to the range master. I said, I'm a new shooter and I broke my gun. And he kind of freaked out, and the range master was like, no, I got this. They called another helper in. He came in and instructed the guy. And while they were sitting there, he's like, look, I'm going to get you some fresh ammo. He had Kaka ammo too, like the steel case stuff that tears up extractors. And the Russian stuff eats everything. But yeah, whatever it was he was shooting wasn't very good. He's like, I'm going to get you some very basic ball ammunition, like cheap target shots. And the instructor went through all the fundamentals of whatever platform he purchased. It looks like he's having a technical difficulty with the handgun. But again, new shooter, he bought a piece that probably wasn't worth the money he paid for it. So hopefully he'll upgrade, he'll get rid of that and move to a better platform. But yeah, guys, look at this stuff that's for tax-free: axes, batteries, can openers, CO2 detectors, coolers, and ice chests for food storage, as long as they're not electric. Hatchets, ice products, light sources such as candles, flashlight, lantern, including battery operated. Radios, two-way and weather band radios, smoke detectors, and tarps. Things like toilet paper, gloves, cleaning supplies, chainsaws do not count. There's a lot of, so you can actually even request that Amazon, I don't know how that works exactly, but Amazon can remove, if you're ordering to Texas, they can remove sales tax depending on what it is you're ordering. So yeah, the poor guy, and you know what's funny? Our shop has a lot of hunters in it, and just a couple of ex-military guys, me, and there's one or two others. But ironically, my clients, a lot of my colleagues from the other companies where we partner, it's a bunch of young millennial, or younger to me, I'm not young anymore, but younger millennial veterans, guys who did 1-2 tours in Iraq, did a tour in Afghanistan. And these guys have buku experience. And I told him, I said, dude, next time you go, call me. I'll call them. We'll just get a whole pile of people out there. And you bring your sons, your wife, whatever, and we will do a 101. Everybody will get individual instruction and educate and help folks. So, yeah. So so Texas will allow you to buy tax-free. Yes, and watch for that. So what I do, Alice, they do this every year. So what I do, I go about a month before and I start writing down things I want, and I write down the prices. In a few cases, I've taken pictures, and then I'll show up and be like, seriously, you raised the price. Well, the market, dude, this was 2 weeks ago. It was, $50 and now it's 75. Come on. And it makes them crazy. We should actually, there are a lot of preppers on, like, not 3 hours from each other here in Texas. So we really, we should have, you know, like Hudson, those of you who follow Hudson Survival, they're having an upstate New York retreat. I think Angry Prepper is bringing most of his group up there. And Livingston Man and Hudson, and I think, no, Catskills down in North Carolina for work now. But there's a whole group getting together in upstate New York on a property they've been authorized to use to do a camp out and cook out, and they're going to trade skills and do classes. We really need to do that in Texas. I mean, we have Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana in this little square on the Gulf Coast. We should all do this. Like, they should have like a trading post or something. Yes. Bluetti is a really good brand. I actually had looked at them. I wound up with a Jackery because I actually found one on sale. But the Bluettis are good. There are lots of different options. And by the way, there's a solar panel out there. I got to look for it that has an adapter. So you can plug it into a Jackery. You switch the adapter. You can plug it into the Bluetti. You can switch the adapter and plug it into that other company. I forgot what they're called. That there are a lot of options. It would be. So Houston, and they may have already had it, has a hurricane preparedness event every year. Now, they canceled it during the Rona, but they had it. I used to work it for the Guard, and then I started going to it with the local Cub Scouts and, you know, bringing the kids through there. That would have been, I actually met my mag in Houston at that event. 1 year, I told them all I was going to be there. I was working the Guard booth, and they all showed up, and they were ham radio operators. They ranged in age from 20 years old to 63. I mean, it was just really cool. I actually think, I'm trying to think where would be a good place to do a Texas, basically a Texas roundup. San Angelo. I got to talk to the city of San Angelo and the city of Midland, and maybe something central. Killeen would be fun. It's between everybody, but it's also the Army base, so they have a lot of things going on all the time because Fort Hood's right there. I do actually. I have two. So one is a buck knife. It's just an old buck knife, and I actually have a United States Army issued Canetta from the Vietnam War that my cousin, when he came back, gave to my dad, and it's my first knife. The knife is probably over 50 years old. I could probably cut a paper with it just like that. I also have my dad's cane machete, which I know for a fact I can cut a tree down with, because that's what I learned to cut trees down with. The machete he got in Sears in 1957, and the damn thing weighs 4 pounds. It's not these little flimsy blades. Like, I could cross blades with the machetes you find in Academy and break their blade with mine. Actually, if you hit somebody with the flat part of the machete, just like a planazo, you with the side, and they'd pee themselves. They'd be down. It's like a baseball bat. Midland would be a good place. I'd have to think. So you got folks in Central Texas. You've got folks, see, we're all over. That's one problem about Texas, is so big, we're all over the place. But that would be really neat. I need to talk and see what kind of venue. I have a friend who's a congressman here in Texas, and I need to shoot him an email. He used to be my old CO, and I'm going to ask him if there's a good place we can meet. If we could finagle our way into like an old armory and use that as a trading post and just a meet and greet, that would be awesome. If we could get a speaker, that would be even better. Man, you guys got me thinking now. I got to figure out who would be a good speaker. Dude, if we could, ladies and gentlemen, if we could get like freaking Lauren Boebert or August Pfluger to do a preparedness talk, you know, a congressperson saying, hey, look, you know, this is where we are and these are the threats, and just give us like a state of the state, that would be freaking cool. Um, God, that would be awesome. But guys, check out different states are now adopting this Texas tax-free weekend thing. So I hear Florida's doing it, but I can't confirm that. Louisiana's pondering it. I think certain places do, like Homa, Lafayette, the places on the coast, New Orleans, Slidell. Those places would, I think they're doing a tax-free day like they do for school, but it's for prepping supplies, just like we just saw for Texas. Yeah, Stuart, that was the thought. Alan West is a great guy. Dan Crenshaw is super busy. I'd love to get him because he's funny as shit. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him in person, but he's got that really bizarre Navy sense of humor. And I mean, the guy almost had his head blown off, right? So he's missing him and his eye patch, and he'll freak little kids out because he has a glass eye that he changes with like eagles and flags, and he'll go like plink, and kids freak out. And he thinks it's great. So he's awful. He's got young kids too. Alan West, I was hoping he would be one of the candidates for governor. But we have Abbott and we have Beto. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of Beto. He can get obnoxious, Nikki, for sure. But he is funny to listen to. Like he says stuff that pretty much all of them would annoy me at some point. I was hoping Chad Prather would have made it as a candidate also. Yeah, and that's my big gripe about it. And I don't know what he was thinking. That may have been. You got to keep in mind his constituency. He's part in Houston and part in the suburbs in the country. So he may have been trying to play both ends against the middle. He talks one thing, but then he has to vote this way because, part of his constituency supports it. I may have a location in Centerville. Ooh, that's an appropriate name too, Centerville. Ronnie Jackson. I'd love to find someone who would support or understands the preparedness community and that we're not a bunch of psychotic, conspiracy theorists. We were not the ones buying an entire pickup truck of toilet paper a couple of years ago. We were watching them, but it wasn't us. And I'm pretty awful because I like to go and spectate shit shows. Am I the only one who does that, by the way? Or do you guys do that? Because, when the Black Fridays were turning into riots in the malls in the cities, I got my youngest son. I'm like, dude, you want to go see people fight at Walmart or at the mall? And he's like, yeah. I said, let's go get Starbucks. And we got Starbucks because it's the only coffee place we could find. And then we went down to the bakery, got kolaches. And then we sat there in the mall and we were just walking around and watching the people. And they're like, that's my t-shirt. And, freaking out, throwing shit at each other. And we're like, eh. And then they got violent. And he and I were like, And that will conclude our shopping event. But it was so fun to watch the stupids. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not the only one who's a shit. Yes, mall watching is so much fun. Unless the mall is scary and, it's like gangbangers everywhere. And then you're like, nah, not so much. Yeah, I grew up with that shit. I'm not, no, I don't need that. But I'm also terrible. I wish I gotta get Sassy on a live one day because she'll come in with her phone, go, babe. I'm like, what? I'm thinking like, oh, my car broke down, the dog's throwing up. She goes, there's a fire on the other side of town. What? Yeah, there's a refinery fire. Let's go see it. 10 minutes later, we're in the vehicle with binoculars to go see the fire. It is. And I'm too old for that now. Well, that's why I have the coffee and distance, right? I like to have the coffee and watch the stupid from away. I don't want to be in the stupid. I don't want that. I want to watch the stupid. Oh yeah, people are absolutely insane. Um, and Glenn, it's funny because if food really, we haven't gotten hit yet. We're paying attention, right? The preppers, we've been talking about this for months. I mean, all the channels were like, food, inflation. We knew it. We saw the pattern. It's not like we're clairvoyant. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're sitting there going, that I see something going on here. I see this pattern. And if the pattern continues, this will be the inevitable result. And, oh, yeah. So yeah, the malls, you can make good money in a key if you do the kiosk thing and you float the malls, but you could also you're also in the middle. So if there's a stampede of chaos, you can wind up struggling with that. But yeah, folks, keep doing the food preps systemically. Oh my, wait, what? Are those the bougie eggs, or are those like the here's your symbolic egg, people? Holy crap. That is not 9%. That's like 50%. That's a doubling. It's a 100% increase. Yeah. So guys, look, with the inflationary effect plus the shortages, you get less with more money, right? It's not the other way around. So now's a great time to take a minute, look at what you got, inventory. And this is something I've said on multiple platforms. I've said it on TikTok as well as Insta and the Tube. Pick your subject. So last weekend was dry goods and solar. Weekend before that was pews, and I was training people with pews. And I also got to do some price shopping in different cities to compare, hey, Northern Girl, what's going on? Regular large eggs, double. Yow. Caribbean House, which state is that? So every state, a lot of states are doing it now. So if you can take advantage, what I do, like Caribbean House is in May. So I would go now and look at the prices for the products, and I would take pictures of them. And then when you go back and they jack it up, go, seriously, man, a week ago it was this. Now you're charging me this. This is silly. And they'll probably honor it because the manager has discretion to drop 5-10%. Who cares? You save 5% on a purchase. That's $5, five whatever that you can put somewhere else, right? And that's what it's all about. You're going to get less product with more money. So yeah, and you're going to have to get creative. And we should all be doing that in our different areas, is posting and tracking Walmart. Because I expect pricing in Houston may be lower than West Texas because the shipping comes in the port and then has to come out here. So you have a transport cost. But when you go to one city and then not even 30 minutes away, you go to another city and you have a 20% differential, something's wrong. Yeah, every penny counts right now, guys. So be systemic in what you do. And be gradual, right? This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So look for, like the other week, I found the 2-pound pastas. It was elbow macaroni, and they were on sale. The 1 pound, pound for pound, was more expensive. So I bought a bunch of the 2 pounds. I bought like 3 of them, not too many. And then I Mylar'd them, and they went into the storage. And that was it. That was my prep. I didn't make myself crazy. I needed AAAs. I found some of those. So that was it. Dry goods and batteries. This week, I'm probably going to pivot and do something else. But yeah, right. And they also know that you're not necessarily going to drive to the next city, so they jack it up a little more than they should. So right now, wow. That's higher than it used to be for the generic eggs. It's not bad considering everything, but it's still a lot. So, guys, save that money. Do what you can. And again, if you don't have like a Sam's card or Costco, find someone who does, who's willing to talk to you, and who, or better yet, someone who thinks like we do, and go, hey, I need to get this product from Sam's. You want to split one with me? Green beans, Coke Zeros, whatever the hell it is you're trying to get. And that way, at least you get it to take advantage of the reduced cost of a bulk sale. So now's the time to do this. Don't wait until all the sheep realize that there's going to be a food shortage, because I promise you, they're already drilling holes in gas tanks in Texas to steal gas. They're doing it in Cali. They've been doing that for a while. And the gas price went down. It's going to get to a point they're going to start mugging people for fucking food. Excuse my French. And yeah, location matters. Absolutely. I would, if you see something good, I would take a picture of the receipt, or take a picture of the price advertisement, the posting, and see what they do. Glenn, what I would recommend, HEB is very open to groups. So if you have like a church group, and you have, even if it's a small, like a Bible study group, maybe 4 couples, right? You guys say, okay, we're going to buy rice in bulk. You go to HEB and say, hey, we want to buy bulk rice for a church group, or bulk bread, or whatever it is. And they may actually do a special order when they do their bulk order, special order for you. Rip, another one. What is up? Did we have any last year? Oh, for flip's sake. Yeah. Let's see if active shooter. 3 shot in Van Ness. Wait, Washington, D.C. or Washington? Oh, it's a, I found it. Let's see what they say here, guys. Thank you, Rip, for that heads up. Let's share that real quick. Could you tell I was looking at ReadyWise? Because now the advertisements are anywhere. Let's see what this guy says.
May have been a number of students at UDC who may have been housed at that apartment, or at least in that particular area. Very busy area with universities, with the school Burke that we've been talking about as well. Parents are waiting to get to their kids. Police and tactical officers are all over this area, trying to contain this threat and to be able to neutralize and figure out what is happening here. If you were planning to head in that direction, look at this video. You can't go in that direction right now. Nothing is moving. Stuff is locked down miles away from this area. So what you want to do is not head in that direction, because obviously this is still evolving.
And think of the coordination that's underway right now between these different agencies. You have police, DC police, the ATF, Secret Service, you have Park Police there as well, because again, you have the schools, the University of the District of Columbia, UDC, you have those embassies, you have the Burke School, these apartment buildings. You hear about a threat, people have sent in video saying they've heard a number of gunshots, at least 15 folks saying they heard what sounded like a jackhammer. Police are trying to figure out where it's coming from, who this person is, and then you have to go through all these buildings to figure out if you got the person who's responsible for this, or persons.
Right. And those are answers that we don't have right now. What we know is this part of the city has been shut down, essentially in lockdown, as police investigate and try to figure out where this danger is coming from, to save the lives that are caught in between all these areas. I mean, you've got Connecticut Avenue, you've got Van Ness Avenue, you've got kids at Edmund Burke, you got parents standing nearby, you got police pulling people out of apartment buildings, shielding them, literally serving as human shields as they're bringing them out to try to get them to safety on a Friday night, bright and beautiful, that was supposed to be rather uneventful going into a weekend.
Yeah, and now
here in
a lot
Washington.
of those folks are still with everything on lockdown at this point. You know, they're communicating with their loved ones by phone, but still have no idea the danger that they may be in at this point. As we all wait for some answers. But the only confirmation we have at this point is that this is all unfolding along Van Ness Street and Connecticut Avenue in Northwest DC. And we know that 2 men and a juvenile, a child, have been shot. And their conditions are still unknown at this point.
Yeah. Again, we don't know why this started, who's behind it, whether there is one person or multiple people behind the violence, the spasm of violence that occurred this afternoon here in Van Ness, a busy, bustling area on a beautiful Friday afternoon going into a weekend. But that has all stopped now. Things have really come to a standstill as police are trying to figure all of this out, get people to safety and end this safely. We've got Evan Kosloff.
Listen, Kosloff has been there for a little more than an hour now. And what have you seen up to this point?
So right now they're trying to expand their perimeter. They just asked everybody to move back so they could try to block us a little more so they get a more controlled situation. But what I can tell you, what we just saw, which you maybe saw a vantage point of, was people running. This is not something that you see often at crime scenes. It implies that there may still be a threat. We don't know, obviously, but that they had guns drawn and they were running in a buddy system. It's not something that we see often here. And as you pan around, just to show the situation here, they have asked people to move back. And so this is obviously a lot of people here. Some just, they live in the neighborhood. They want to see what's going on. Others I've talked to are, in fact, parents. We've talked to some kids as well. And so everybody's nervous. People are on edge right now. And there's a very, very heavy police presence here. We're talking, I want to fill everybody in here for those that can't be here. We're talking dozens of vehicles and dozens of officers that are here. It's hard to say what type of units they are, but we've got these long guns that these officers are carrying. And as we saw them come up to the building over here around the corner, we did see some of them with their hands pointed up towards these buildings. So they're focusing on this building, the officers that we saw. And then the most tense moment was when we saw 4 people being let out on a buddy system. So 4 people running, and we can't say, I got to look at them. They were not all student age. One was a grown woman. So we have people of all ages in those 4 that were being guided out by these officers. So that was one tense situation. And then the other one before that was we saw somebody being let out with his hands behind the back. His hands were in handcuffs. That being said, it's still tense here. It's not like they brought this person in who we don't know why this person was being put in handcuffs, but that didn't end the situation. We still have the helicopter flying up above. We still have officers expanding the perimeter, and we have people running down the street here. This is Van Ness Street. And before I send it back to you guys in the studio, I just think it's important one more time to sort of expand out and show you what this scene looks like here. We've got hundreds of people that are trying to figure out what's going on, just like we are, trying to see what the situation is. They're concerned about their community. As we have 3 people, that's the latest, 3 people that have been shot, guys.
All right, thank you, Evan. Obviously giving us a status report of where things stand. We've been here just before 3:30 watching all of this unfold. In the Van Ness neighborhood, police have said that the epicenter of this appears to be the apartment building that we showed you, which is the AVA apartment or AVA apartment, depending on who you ask out there. And there is still a lot of activity, almost an hour and a half after this began.
And I'm thinking of the trauma for people living in this area,
Sure.
those who have to hear those gunshots, and you're living through this moment, not understanding really the gravity of what will be the outcome of this situation. All we know right now, again, 2 men shot and 1 young girl, according to police, shot. We don't know where they were shot. We don't have information about the shooter as of yet. We did see someone walking away, being escorted in handcuffs by police just a short time ago. But we don't know how that person is connected to this situation or if they're connected to what we're looking at unfold today.
obviously this is a dynamic situation, and in moments like this we have a responsibility to be very, very careful and not put anyone in harm's way. So we are going to be deliberate about what we show you. We're going to be deliberate about what we tell you. We're going to be responsible because we know that people's lives are at stake here. So we've told you what we know. If you had planned to head in that area tonight, probably not a good idea right now, although there are a number of schools over there in the area. And so if parents are waiting there may be parents still trying to get to their kids right now because of all the road closures and the delays. We're mindful of that as well.
And we saw from Evan Kosloff a minute ago, police were putting up the yellow tape. They were trying to expand the perimeter just a bit. So that tells you right there that we're not going to be wrapping up at this scene anytime soon.
It tells us that the threat is still significant. You see police serving as human shields for the people in and around the apartment building that they're trying to get safety. And you hear about them ducking behind cars and waiting a beat before they move them. This is a very, very tense situation that we've been watching for almost an hour and a half now, going into almost 5 o'clock on Friday.
And that just sort of adds to the anxiety, if you will, from what we were showing you a little earlier with those people rushing out of their homes. I mean, who knows what they were doing at roughly 3:30 this afternoon, but having a SWAT team come in, police, shortly after hearing the number of gunshots and tell you, hey, you got to leave because your life may be in danger, it's pretty jarring.
It is jarring. We've got our reporter colleagues covering every angle of this story. We're going to go back to our Colby Satterfield, who has been watching every moment here. And Colby, we see the camera is trained on the AVA or AVA apartment sign, which we talked a good deal about. That appears to be the area where this is centralized and where the concern is.
Yeah, and about 2 minutes ago, there was a lot of activity around that area too. But they're bringing people out. You can see some people coming out. So every few minutes we see an officer with that buddy type system bringing and escorting someone out and bringing them across the street from Van Ness. I also want to point out that we know 3 people were shot, and within the last about 5 or so minutes, 3 ambulances parked and are here at the intersection of Connecticut and Van Ness. Not sure if they are planning on putting people inside of these ambulances, but they are here and they are stationed, and they have EMTs that have been standing outside of these ambulances for the last few minutes. And as we saw with Evan Kozlov, rearranging people to accommodate them. If we could go back over to the AVA apartment sign, still that big armored vehicle is parked in that same entryway that we have been talking for a while, and we continue to see law enforcement coming and going. And you can see coming down the street now as well on Van Ness, a group of about 6 or 7 officers, and it looks like they have rifles with them as well, and looks like they are carrying their gun cases behind them as well. In their tactical gear as well, coming down Connecticut Avenue right now. We've been seeing clusters and groups of officers going in different directions over the last few minutes as well. Not sure where the action that is going on that we can't see right now, but there is still certainly a flurry. We can see another group of officers coming down the street as well. If we can pan more towards Connecticut, some more clusters of officers coming back to the public over here. This is where a lot of people are waiting, coming back over to this general area. Parents still waiting, still being told that they are sheltering in place at this time.
Hey, Colby, can you give us an update on what you've seen over the last 5 minutes? We haven't seen the shot in quite a while, but we saw earlier a lot of these officers had their guns drawn as they were walking by the.
Well, that's just to add to the fun. So, yeah, prayers definitely, Mrs. Guetta. Keep an eye out on these folks. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, there's some very good active shooter training on YouTube. I think even FEMA.gov, there's some various resources. I would encourage you to watch them and just understand the way things go down if you happen to be in a mall and something like this happens. It looks like that situation is going to go on for a hot minute. So, but yeah, folks, a lot of instability. Yeah, and Glenn has a good point. If this starts happening everywhere at the same time, which we were almost there in 2020, but now yeah, it's going to get ugly. It's going to be hairy, and it's going to be a problem. So, well, folks, I'm going to wrap this up. We're actually at an hour and a half now, believe it or not. And thank you all for contributing in the comments and the discussions. Guys, continue doing the things we all talk about them. You know, the food, the battery packs. You know, like the little solar thing I showed earlier. Start upgrading your equipments, upgrading your stuff, and pick a subject. Don't get crazy with everything. It's too much to do all at once. It's too expensive now to do all at once. So pick a subject. Pasta and dry goods, like pasta's, rice, spices. Spices is a great prep. People don't think about it. Very simple. Canned goods. Go through your canned goods. Make sure they're not expired. The cans aren't screwed up. And then systemically go through every weekend, or maybe do one Saturday and one Wednesday, so you have some weekend time to decompress, because that's important too. Mental health and wellness, keep the anxiety and stress levels down. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Annie. So guys, yes, that's the best way to say it. Do the stuff, do the things that need to get done quietly, systemically, and on budget, and discreetly. And if you can find someone to buy those bulk things and split them, absolutely not a bad thing, because you save on those. So ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you all this weekend. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing a live tomorrow, because I'm actually going to be out and about trying to get some of those very things Northern Girl talked about, doing the stuff, get that stuff done. But you guys be safe. And yes, Rip, it was a timely discussion, because what do you think is going to happen if food truly runs out? Or we get into it with China and Russia at the same time? That's going to be ugly, and we're going to have people freaking out in the streets. And more importantly, we're going to have martial law, and that's not going to be anybody's happiness. So, guys, be smart, be systemic, stay in your budget. Now is not a time to run up credit cards. Actually, the opposite. If you can pay them down, even better. Even better. Just, position yourself the best you can, and collaborate. Find friends, find people. Like I said on my last live, I worked with a guy for 10 years. And the other day I made a comment about, well, if they riot here, we'll just go gray and hide in the alleys. And he looked at me like this. So afterwards I found out he's been a prepper for years. And actually he had mapped out every golf course in Houston. So he said, if I had to walk back because I couldn't drive, I knew where all the golf carts were. Smart little shit. He said, I'll steal a golf cart. I'll go 5 miles an hour down the power easements till I get out of town, and then I'll get back on foot. He said, power runs out, I'll just leave it there. It ain't mine anyway. Smart guy. I never thought of that. So yeah, you guys be safe, be blessed. Texans, I will do some research and I will be in touch. It would be really fun to do a Texas roundup somewhere. There are a few good places we can choose. So we gotta kind of figure out how that would go down without causing a scene. All right. Well, you guys be safe, be careful, and do right things. And don't forget to pray and take some time off to reflect, because it's good for your soul. God bless. We will see you guys later.